Francis Ford Coppola's classic mob drama, The Godfather, contains a vast amount of interesting characters who are explored throughout the film and the movie's two sequels. The Godfather contains a wonderful gallery of characters, including Don Vito Corleone, Michael Corleone, Tom Hagen, Kay Adams, Peter Clemenza, Johnny Fontaine, Mo Green, and Fredo Corleone, known for his ability to bang cocktail waitresses two at a time. One such character is the formidable and feared Luca Brasi, Don Vito Corleone's personal enforcer. Brasi has a legendary reputation for being a savage killer, and interestingly, he was played by Lenny Montana, who, in addition to being an ex-wrestler, was also a bodyguard for the real-life Colombo crime family, and as a result, his casting added real authenticity to the role. Our encounters with Brasi in The Godfather, in spite of his reputation, are brief. Luca Brasi is invited to the wedding of Don Vito Corleone's daughter Connie to Carlo Rizzi, and the Godfather novel, written by Mario Puzo, who helped Francis Ford Coppola write the screenplay to all three films, tells us that Brasi was surprised to be invited to the wedding, and Vito Corleone only did so as a professional courtesy. He delivers personally to the Don a sum of money for his daughter's bridal purse, and it is presumed he gave the most amount of money from among the wedding guests. Luca Brasi is described in the book as a man to frighten the devil in hell himself, and whose presence sent out alarm bells of danger. His reputation for violence was awesome and his devotion to Don Corleone legendary, and he is one of the primary reasons why Don Corleone managed to become as powerful as he was. In his prime, the most powerful head of the so-called 5 New York crime families. Even Don Corleone himself was tense around Luca Brasi, and the book tells us that Brasi was the only man who could make him nervous, and he breathed a sigh of relief after Brasi walked out of the door after congratulating Don Corleone on his daughter's wedding. Interestingly, when Lenny Montana filmed his greeting with Don Corleone, he was so awestruck at being in a movie scene with the great Marlon Brando that he fluffed his lines, and what we see on screen is Montana actually stuttering his lines out. Director Francis Ford Coppola decided to keep this in the film, and added a scene set before this with Luca Brasi practicing his lines. The effect this has in the completed film is that it appears that Don Corleone is so feared and respected that even the savage, terrifying Luca Brasi is scared of him. There are many legendary stories surrounding the infamous Luca Brasi. It is said, for example, that he killed his own father after having enough of his beatings, and the fact that his father had caused his mother to lose her baby by stabbing her in the abdomen. He is also thought to have murdered his neighbor by pushing him off a roof after the neighbor impregnated Luca's mum. He even at one point wanted to kill Tom Hagen, the Corleone family lawyer and consigliere, after Hagen slept with Luca Brasi's girlfriend, not realizing she was his girlfriend. Hagen managed to pay Brasi off, and the matter was put to bed. Brasi is also thought to have killed a Corleone soldier just for making the Corleone family look bad. However, in this video, I'm not concerned with information that comes from video games or books that were not written by Mario Puzo, such as the prequel novel The Family Corleone, written by Ed Falco, in which Luca Brasi plays a major role and which suggests that Don Corleone was not only anxious regarding Luca Brasi, but the only man he actively feared. The reason for this is that we end up with issues as to what some people consider to be canon and some don't, so I'm only going to be using references from the film and Mario Puzo's novel The Godfather. Even just using these two sources, Luca Brasi's terrifying psychopathic personality is cemented. He single-handedly ended the olive oil wars of the 1930s by killing 6 men in 2 weeks who had attempted to assassinate Don Corleone, and he did this all on his own. And the only reason he didn't carry on is because Don Corleone stopped him because he had thought he had gone too far. In another incident, Luca Brasi apprehended 2 henchmen who had been sent by Al Capone to kill Don Corleone. He tied them up and gagged their mouths with towels, and he then proceeded to leisurely hack one of the men to pieces, starting with his feet, then his knees, and then his thighs, and before he could start on the other, the second man had become so horrified that he had choked to death on the towel he was gagged with, and the doctors found it in his stomach during the man's autopsy. In both the Godfather book and novel, during Connie's wedding, Michael Corleone introduces his girlfriend Kay to members of his family. He also attempts to get her to understand just what kind of man his father is and what kind of business he runs. He spots Luca Brasi and tells Kay of a story regarding Vito helping Johnny Fontane in his singing career, offering band leader Les Halley $20,000 to release Fontane from a service contract that unfairly exploited Fontane. When Halley refused, Don Corleone returned the next day, this time with Luca Brasi, and made Halley an offer he couldn't refuse, this time putting a gun to his head and offering $10,000, telling him either his signature or his brains would be on the contract, and he got the desired result. The cash amounts are different in the movie and the book story, but the point is the same. However, in the novel, Michael goes a step further. After Kay suspects Michael of simply trying to scare her, he informs her that there's another story about Luca Brasi, one that nobody ever tells. Michael says, "It's supposed to be so terrible that even my father won't talk about it. Tom Hagen knows the story and he won't tell me. Once I kidded him. I said, 'When will I be old enough to hear that story about Luca?' And Tom said, 'When you're 100. That must be some story. That must be some Luca.'" The book leaves it there temporarily, and it leaves it so long to actually tell us this horrifying story that you're left thinking you're never going to hear it, and that it's simply something to get your creative juices going, thinking up all sorts of horrible things Luca Brasi could have done, things that could be even worse than hacking a man into pieces. But tell you this story the book does, and it is so horrifying, so disturbing, that there's no way they could have shown this in the movie back in 1972, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a mainstream movie that would show this even now. It's a long while later that Michael hears the story, perhaps even years later, a long time after Luca Brasi is killed by Virgil Sollozzo and the Tartaglia family when Don Corleone sends Luca to get information from Sollozzo by feigning to be displeased with his role in the Corleone family. Luca is hit with a surprise attack by being stabbed in one hand, his other hand grasped by his assailants, all while he is strangled to death. That's how it goes in the movie. In the book there is no stabbing, although there is the added nauseating fact that Brasi's bowels empty when he is killed, and the floor becomes very messy. A long time after this, during Michael Corleone's exile to Sicily, when he is forced to flee after shooting Sollozzo and the police captain McCluskey, Michael finally hears this incredible story. Michael keeps a low profile, his identity is supposed to be a secret, but after he expresses his wishes to marry Apollina, the young girl he saw and was love-struck by, it becomes known to many, including Michael's would-be assassins, that Michael Corleone is in Sicily. One day he is approached by an old woman named Philomena, a servant, who asks him whether he is actually the son of Don Vito Corleone. Because of the look of concern on the woman's face, Michael nods, and the woman tells him that the Don saved her life once, and she says a quick prayer for him. She then asks whether Luca Brasi is dead, and Michael again nods, and is surprised by the woman's look of relief, and then she curses Brasi. Michael asks the woman to tell her about Luca Brasi and how he and his father had met, and so it is then that Michael finally learns the horrific tale. The book tells us, 30 years before, Philomena had been a midwife in New York City on 10th Avenue, servicing the Italian colony. The women were always pregnant and she prospered. She taught doctors a few things when they tried to interfere in a difficult birth. Her husband was then a prosperous grocery store owner. Dead now, poor soul. She blessed him, though he had been a card player and renter who never thought to put aside for hard times. In any event, one cursed night 30 years ago, when all honest people were long in their beds, there came a knocking on Philomena's door. She was by no means frightened. It was the quiet hour babes prudently chose to enter safety into this sinful world, and so she dressed and opened the door. Outside it was Luca Brasi, whose reputation even then was fearsome. It was known also that he was a bachelor, and so Philomena was immediately frightened. She thought he had come to do her husband harm, that perhaps her husband had foolishly refused Brasi some favour. But Brasi had come on the usual errand. He told Philomena that there was a woman about to give birth, that the house was out of the neighbourhood some distance away, and that she was to come with him. Philomena immediately sensed something amiss. Brasi's brutal face looked almost like that of a madman that night. He was obviously in the grip of some demon. She tried to protest that she attended only women whose history she knew, but he shoved a handful of green dollars in her hand and ordered her roughly to come along with him. She was too frightened to refuse. In the street was a Ford. its driver of the same feather as Luca Brasi. The drive was no more than 30 minutes to a small frame house in Long Island City right over the bridge. A two-family house, but obviously now tenanted only by Brasi and his gang, for there were some other ruffians in the kitchen playing cards and drinking. Brasi took Philomena up the stairs to her bedroom. In the bed was a young, pretty girl who looked Irish, her face painted, her hair red, and with the belly swollen like a sole. The poor girl was so horrified. When she saw Brasi, she turned her head away in terror. Yes, terror. And indeed, the look of hatred on Brasi's evil face was the most frightening thing she had ever seen in her life. To make a long story short, Brasi left the room. 2 of his men assisted the midwife, and the baby was born. The mother was exhausted and went into a deep sleep. Brasi was summoned, and Philomena, who had wrapped the newborn child in an extra blanket, extended the bundle to him and said, "If you're the father, take her. My work is finished." Brasi glared at her, malevolent. Insanity stamped on his face. "Yes, I'm the father," he said, "but I don't want any of that race to live. Take it down to the basement and throw it into the furnace." For a moment Philomena thought she had not understood him properly. She was puzzled by his use of the word race. Did he mean because the girl was not Italian? Or did he mean because the girl was obviously of the lowest type, a whore in short? Or did he mean anything springing from his loins he forbade to live? And then she was sure he was making a brutal joke. She said shortly, "It's your child. Do what you want." And she tried to hand him the bundle. At this time the exhausted mother awoke and turned on her side to face them. She was just in time to see Brasi thrust violently at the bundle, crushing the newborn infant against Philomena's chest. She called out weakly, Luke, I'm sorry." And Brasi turned to face her. "It was terrible," Philomena said now. "So terrible. They were like 2 mad animals. They were not human. The hatred they bore each other blazed through the room. Nothing else, not even the newborn infant, existed for them at that moment. And yet, there was a strange passion, a bloody, demoniacal lust, so unnatural you knew they were damned forever. Then Brasi turned back to Philomena and said harshly, "Do what I tell you. I'll make you rich." Philomena could not speak in her terror. She shook her head. Finally she managed to whisper, "You do it. You're the father. Do it if you like." But Brasi didn't answer. Instead he drew a knife from inside his shirt. "I'll cut your throat," he said. She must have gone into shock then, because the next thing she remembered, they were all standing in the basement of the house in front of a square iron furnace. Philomena was still holding the blanketed baby, which had not made a sound. "Maybe if it had cried, maybe if I had been shrewd enough to pinch it," Philomena said, "that monster would have shown mercy." One of the men must have opened the furnace door. The fire now was visible. And then she was alone with Brasi in that basement with its sweating pipes, its mousy odour. Brasi had his knife out again, and there could be no doubting that he would kill her. There were the flames, there were Brasi's eyes. His face was the gargoyle of the devil. It was not human, it was not sane. He pushed her towards the open furnace door. At this point, Philomena fell silent. She folded her bony hands in her lap and looked directly at Michael. He knew what she wanted, how she wanted to tell him without using her voice. He asked gently, "Did you do it?" She nodded. It was only after another glass of wine and crossing herself and muttering a prayer that she continued her story. She was given a bundle of money and driven home. She understood that if she uttered a word about what had happened, she would be killed. But 2 days later, Brasi murdered the young Irish girl, the mother of the infant, and was arrested by the police. Philomena, frightened out of her wits, went to the Godfather and told her story. He ordered her to keep silent, that he would attend to everything. At that time Brasi did not work for Don Corleone. Before Don Corleone could set matters aright, Luca Brasi tried to commit suicide in his cell, hacking at his throat with a piece of glass. He was transferred to the prison hospital, and by the time he recovered, Don Corleone had arranged everything. The police did not have a case they could prove in court, and Luca Brasi was released. Though Don Corleone assured Philomena that she had nothing to fear from either Luca Brasi or the police, she had no peace. Her nerves were shattered and she could no longer work at her profession. Finally she persuaded her husband to sell the grocery store and they returned to Italy. Her husband was a good man. He had been told everything and understood. But he was a weak man, and in Italy squandered the fortune they had both slaved in America to earn. And so after he died, she had become a servant. So Philomena ended her story. She had another glass of wine and said to Michael, "I blessed the name of your father. He always sent me money when I asked. He saved me from Brasi. Tell him I say a prayer for his soul every night and that he shouldn't fear dying." After she had left, Michael asked Don Tomasino, "Is her story true?" The capo mafioso nodded, and Michael thought, no wonder nobody had wanted to tell the story. Some Luca. So there you have it, the infamous, terrifying and taboo tale of Luca Brasi, a deranged and savage individual who had his own child killed. Don Corleone, whilst not admiring Lucas's actions, saw that this was a creature he could use as an effective weapon against his enemies. Michael actually asks his father in the book at one point about why he used an animal like Luca Brasi, and the Don replies, "There are men in this world who go about demanding to be killed. You must have noticed them. They quarrel in gambling games. They jump out of their automobiles in a rage if someone so much as scratches their fender. They humiliate and bully people whose capabilities they do not know. I have seen a man, a fool, deliberately infuriate a group of dangerous men, and he himself without any resources. These are people who wander through the world, shouting, 'Kill me, kill me,' and there is always somebody ready to oblige them. We read about it in the newspapers every day. Such people, of course, do a great deal of harm to others also. Luca Brasi was such a man, but he was such an extraordinary man that for a long time nobody could kill him. Most of these people are of no concern to ourselves, but Brasi is a powerful weapon to be used. The trick is that since he does not fear death and indeed looks for it, then the trick is to make yourself the only person in the world that he truly desires not to kill. He has only that one fear, not of death, but that you may be the one to kill him. He is yours then." After Luca Brasi's death, and Michael Corleone took the reins of the Corleone family from his father, Brasi was replaced by Al Neri, who became Michael's personal enforcer and who has an interesting backstory of his own. But that's a tale for another day. For more videos and similar content, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification button down below. And thanks for watching.